I got a mate called Steve. He works for Nedbank and he's happily employed. He's busy working on the Windows 8 platform for Nedbank, which will launch next week. So it's great. Please feel free to have a look at that. I was very intrigued by watching some of the delegates and having a look at some of what was presented. So you'll be happy to know that in the last section, I'm not here to try and woo you. I'm not here to try and show you what Nedbank's doing. I have a passion to make sure that channels such as social media can be made real and can really affect customer change. And so I'm going to just take you on a bit of a journey of the learnings that we've had over the last year and a half as we've entered into Steve's world. I know that some other banks have spoken this morning, and I'm not about to give you an iPad to try and make you like me. But what I will do is I'll show you some of our insights, and maybe you'll like us anyway. And if you really want to like us, it's just Facebook.com/Nedbank, and you can like us there. Yeah. One of the things that I've realized in the journey of social media at Nedbank is one thing you cannot do in a social media environment is try and play catch up. You've got to do what you do well, and you've got to be the best at it. There's no such thing about coming in that I've come in first or I've come in behind my competitors, or you know that my competitor has 300,000 likes and we only have 10,000. So what? Treat the 10,000 that like you with the utmost respect and do it well, and you'll find that your reach will grow far beyond what your competitors may or may not be doing. Your customers are waiting for you everywhere. In this day and age, I don't have to tell you as regards how and where and what people are saying about you and how they can say it. Specifically around a bank that has got a lot of legacy and a lot of brand kind of understanding or lack of understanding. We know that we're supposedly the most expensive bank. We're the most digitally disadvantaged bank. We're not innovative according to some reports. And we've got this thing that we're fighting to try and and one thing we've learned in the last year and a half is don't fight it. You've got to be who you are. You've got to do what you do and do it well, because your customers are simply waiting with eager anticipation to see what you're going to do. Within the social media team, once we'd built up this control center at Nedbank so that we could control over our social media activity, and please feel free, if you'd like to pop up and visit the social media control center at Nedbank, we're just across the road. Feel free to tweet me or get hold of me, and we'll set up an appointment. You can come along and have a look at the social media center at any time, and that includes Steve. But one of the things, where's that clicker gone? Is it here? Thanks. You just want to hold the power. Yeah, it's not my problem. One of the things that we identified very early on is that you've got to stick to a strategy, and once you've decided on that strategy, you've kind of got to go with it. So we went very simply into saying, well, what's our strategy as regards our customers online? We said we're going to love them. We said we were going to show that we need them. And we said that we were going to show that we know them. We love them, we need them, and we know them. And you might be translating that into some of the notes in the little brochure. And if you're really kind of doing that, well done for you. If you can't remember it, just remember, love them, need them, know them. To do that, we kind of said, well, hang on. How do we make sure that we are using social media to make our customers feel loved? I mean, it's a banking environment, for Pete's sake. They want to know their balance, they want to know how much you're charging them, and they want to know if their credit card's ready for collection. That's pretty much it. Oh, and of course, if we're also giving away iPads. So what we decided to do was not love them by giving them stuff. We thought that we'd just sit back, and for the first 2 months of this journey, we would just listen. We adopted some tools where we just put out some keywords across all sorts of networks, and we said, well, what are people saying about Nedbank? What do they want to know? What are they asking? What are they expecting? Now, that was quite difficult because at the time we had a whole whack of really enthusiastic staff members who thought that for every single business cluster in the bank, it needed a Facebook page. So when we started listening, we were listening across 140-odd different Facebook presence. Now, you might be sitting in a similar situation where everybody and his dog has got a Twitter handle, and everybody and his dog has got a Facebook profile, and you're trying to get it all together. Well, you've got to get it all together. It's one of the things we learned, is that people don't want to speak to multiple areas. They want to speak to the bank. They want to speak to you. They want to know what's going on. And we found that when we started speaking in a tone that was brand, Thank you so much for your inquiry. Please DM us your banking details and we will revert to you shortly. Didn't make them feel loved. It kind of made them feel that they could stand up. And one of the things, even though I come from Cape Town and kind of worked on the flats, is I understood that when you speak to people as a brand, they invent new ways of swearing at your brand. Especially to your mother. It seems that's where they direct their attention when they feel unloved. So what we did was, apart from speaking to them about their kind of maternal issues, we decided that we need to speak to them, and this is what we did. So we started off by listening. We just listened. And then we started responding, but we started telling people, even though we speak as Nedbank, because we don't have an RB somebody or the other that speaks on our behalf, we just speak, no resentment towards our competition whatsoever. We just speak very plainly, and even though we speak in the royal we at Nedbank, we speak things like, it's been a rough day, we're really tired, we're going home now, it's Christmas time, we're going to spend time with our family, and even though we're speaking in the royal we, because we've got 22 people that are kind of watching these channels, and we've got 6 of them constantly responding, we've created a tone that people understand and have begun to adopt and listen to. And we decided that we would respond in a very special way. When it comes specifically to the listening, however, it's an old adage. My father used to say this all the time, and I thought he said it to me because I had big ears, but it wasn't that in the end at all. He was just saying, you know what, shut up. You've got 2 ears, and you've got 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak. And often we'll be sitting in the control center, and a tweet will come in, a post will come in, and we'll go, oh yes, they want their credit card. And we'll go, no, stop. That's not really what the customer's asking. Ask him about where he is. Ask him about what he's doing, and we find slowly but surely that we unpack the genuine reason why the customer's reaching out to us. Speak to them as people. Listen to them as people. And you'll find that they warm to that brand being online. Did you notice that animation? That was awesome. I hate PowerPoint. I'm such a Prezi user. What we've done is we've built our own in-house dashboard, and nobody else other than Nedbank people have ever seen this, so you're quite honored to be able to see it. But what it does is it's got a whole series of screens, and I'm going to take you through a few other things. It's all in-house built, and what we've done is we've had a look and said, hang on, what's our current brand reputation out of 5? How many people are talking to us across 1,200 odd keywords that we've got these trawls going out to find? What's happening in our space? I would show you the next screen, but that demonstrates what's being said about our competitors online, and I'd rather prefer just to keep it to Nedbank. But what happens is that this wraps it all up, and at one snapshot, I can see, and the team can see exactly what's being said about us. And we're able to listen and then respond accordingly. When it comes to response, and I'm going to play you a bit of a risky kind of video clip, whether this response was contrived or whether it was genuine, it's this kind of response that you can give to your customer when you've been listening to them. When you've built up an understanding of your community, you get to be able to respond in a slightly humorous, slightly sarcastic, real way. And so this company, this gentleman went along and spoke to Bodyform. You might have heard this response on 94.7. He went to Bodyform, which is, excuse me ladies, but this is a female company for female products. And, well, he was pretty irate because the way they advertised kind of that time of the month for women wasn't what happened with his girlfriend. In fact, it was completely the opposite for him. So he went off at them and ranted at them on Facebook. I'm not going to read it to you. It gets quite kind of Cape Town flats language-ish. But that's how he kind of put down. And this is how Bodyform came back to him through a YouTube video clip.
We read your Facebook post with interest, but also a sense of foreboding. But I think it's time came clean. We lied to you, Richard, and I want to say sorry. Sorry. What we've seen in our advertisement so far isn't a factual representation of events. You're right. The flagrant use of visualizations such as skydiving, rollerblading, and mountain biking, you forgot horse riding, Richard, are actually metaphors. They're not real. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but there's no such thing as a happy period. The reality is, You didn't know that we do that too.
I kind of prefer Richard to Steve, but anyway, it kind of wraps up the fact that when you get to know the community you're talking to, and you get to know the customer that you're talking to in your community, you can start responding in crazy, incredible, and fantastic new ways. You don't have to have a customer expert now responding one-on-one via telephone to Richard. You can talk in a humorous or in a sarcastic or in a glib way or in a great way to thousands. And we've got a very simple thing that we say in the center at Nedbank is always remember you're talking from one to many to millions. And on social media, it's not just a conversation that may be recorded for quality purposes. This is something that is always there. You can't delete a tweet fast enough. You typo and somebody retweets you, even though you delete your tweet, it's gone. It's out there, one to many to millions. You've got to listen, though, to be able to know how to speak to your community, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. At Nedbank, we realized that the queue in the branch kind of was the determining factor of what people thought of our brand. They didn't realize that it was month end and that 6 tellers is the most we could put out on the windows, and that they should time their queue standing a little bit better. But they thought that because they waited in a queue, Nedbank, well, some of the tweets we got explained it. They said that Nedbank smelled like old people, or Nedbank were for dead people, and we found that by taking real-world experiences and listening to those, translating them into a customer experience. So what we did is we didn't take social media gurus and put them on the back end of our social media platforms. We took bankers and trained them to be social media gurus. So every single one of our guys is face compliant and sits with the banking platform in front of them. And if you ask them a question, they can log into your account and resolve right then and there. In fact, at Nedbank, we don't wait longer than 8 minutes to respond to a client-related tweet. It's our average. If you tweet us as regards a complaint or an issue within a branch, within your account, we get back to you within 8 minutes. We resolve within 12. Average. Obviously, we have people coming on board that have got bigger issues that need to be investigated. And what we do is we've taken the highest level of customer service folk in the bank, our executive guys, and we've pulled them into the social media center because they know how to handle everything. They're not just personal loan experts or current account experts. They're kind of the experts in the whole bank. And so you can't possibly ask them a question that they don't know or don't know where to find the answer relatively quickly. Then what we've done is we've backed them with really tight relationships into the bank so that the people on the other end of those questions know that they need to respond quickly. I'm going to brief over this a little bit, but basically what it says is that if you're going to put yourself out there, be willing to be out there. If you're going to go the route of wanting to participate with your client on social media, well then be willing to go the route. Because it's a challenge. You get all sorts of people from all walks of life, from all areas of life, asking you questions. And in 1 minute, we can have up to 45 or 60 tweets come on board, from investment questions to Q-related questions to, we think Pirates sucked in the last Nedbank Cup game. Which they kind of did. But once again, you've got to be concentrating on the fact that you're always talking one to many to millions. Great leaders are almost great simplifiers. You can cut through argument, debate, and doubt to offer a solution everybody can understand. You might be saying, what the heck has this got to do? You've got to lead your customer. In social media, you've got to show that you're a social media expert, but you've also got to show that you're a subject media expert. We don't just rely on the fact that we've got bankers. We've also got the guys who know the sports, who know the different areas of the bank and what we're involved with, so we can come out and talk soccer and talk golf and talk the things that we're involved with. Not as a bank, just as a subject matter expert. And so when it comes to thought leadership on social media, you've got to get the people who know in your organization conversing and dialoguing with the people who want to know. And you've got to make sure that you're talking a talk that you can back up, that you're not going to give some silly answer to an intricate question. You lose credibility very quickly. A classic example of this is a Bleach It Away. Clorox's Bleach It Away program, well, they encourage parents to talk about pee, poop, and puke. And literally, they want to know what challenges, cleaning challenges, are happening in the home. They become thought leaders on, well, if you mix 2 tablespoons of bleach with a bottle of vinegar, you can clean that stain. And they become thought leaders on cleaning. They don't pump their brand all the time. And this is one thing we learned big time. If you want to talk product and brand only, you're going to get unliked and unfollowed quicker than you're going to get liked and followed. You've got to be talking the stuff that people want to talk about. You've got to become a thought leadership is pivotal in what you do on the social media platforms. You've got to need them. You've got to be able to converse and dialogue with them. You've got to speak in relevance. You've got to have online ambassadors, and you've got to have some form of strategy. And I want to just talk into some of those very quickly. I haven't got a 10-minute answer signal from the back yet, so I'll keep going. And FNB hasn't chucked me off the stage yet, so I'll keep heading. So when it comes to the conversation, you've got to understand, this is a great quote. No one wakes up in the morning with the sole ambition of reading your posts. It's quoted from Common Sense. No one gets up in the morning, grabs their phone and goes, what is Nedbank going to tell me today? I mean, you might jump and grab your phone and say, well, what is PigSpotter telling me today? Yeah, what is Mr. Bateman telling me today about what happened? One of the guys on our top floors in our bank, you know the little green, red, engaged knobs on the door of the toilet thing? You know, when you're busy, you turn it and it goes red. Somebody wrote on that, don't shoot. Anyway, no one wakes up in the morning and rushes to your brand. No one wants to wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm just so enthralled by this new phone or that thing. A conversation's got to catch their eye. A subject matter expert's got to pose an opinion. There's got to be some dialogue. There's got to be some conversation. Over 74% of our day is spent in some form of conversation. Why should social media be any different? Don't just expect to put out a product and a reference to a link on Twitter and expect your entire company to move from where it is to a whole new era of sales. You've got to build the conversation. I mean, how many stories have been shared around a braai in South Africa? How many things have happened? And that's what social is. It's a bunch of people, a bunch of mates, a bunch of people with similar interests standing around chatting about a specific point of interest. You have to very carefully engage into those conversations. One of the things that I love is a dialogue example between one of our customers. She writes for Meemburn, and we didn't know that at the time, and she was sitting in the UK and complaining about the fact that Nedbank was phoning her to check if her credit card swipes were actually her because it was unusual for her to be overseas. And she tweeted us and said, look, help, I don't want to phone, I can't listen, I can't get my messages. Will you please just tell them that it is me and I'm spending up a storm? And we then engaged with her and chatted to her and recommended some coffee shops. Cafe in the Crypt was one we were talking about, and we were just chatting to her about what she was doing. It then turned out that she was Mitch from Meemburn. And now she's currently doing a whole international tour of different countries, having a look at what they take up for IT and all that kind of stuff. And she's journeying all over the world writing articles, but she's now journeying with one of our travel cards. Because when she got back, we continued the dialogue, and now we popped a travel card into her wallet, and she's now busy tweeting up a storm about her spend as she travels using the Nedbank travel card. So what started out as dialogue ended in brand and product. Don't do it the other way around. We tried. It doesn't work. This one tells a story.
Sitting in an airport on a napkin, he wrote, there were two guys in England talking Greenway about a lovely melody which was so simple and it was so beautiful. I thought that it would be interesting to do a united chorus of the word. Tepidly, they liked it. I thought it was really pretty good. Of course, the rest is history. People were humming it. Oh, got 100,000 letters from people saying that they loved it. It matched your personality perfectly with the brain. I worked in New York from about 1964 to, God, about 20 years. I'm retired, but I miss the act. I miss the sermon grind.
The point is, if a man who barely understands what internet is can come in and sit with us for 48 hours, play with the iPad for the first time, and then come up with an idea of how his work from 40 years ago is going to be translated into a display and still make sense and actually advance the idea, I mean, that's fascinating. Okay, so let's start over.
I wanna buy the world a Coke and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. You know what a great 125-year-old soft drink needs? Bang, click, bang, click. A little magic.
This will be not only the banner on the internet, but also we will have a functioning vending machine that is synced with the internet. You pick where you want to send it, and all the way across the world, the Coke will come out of the machine with the message from it, who it's from.
We're actually sending the Coke to Paris. From my generation, that's absolutely science fiction.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, anything you need that.
I mean, to be honest, it's really overwhelming for me to hear you kind of take something that's so iconic that you created and bring it to life in such a modern way. I love that you didn't touch the song, you kept it exactly as it was. It's how it should be. I mean, it's wonderful. It's beautiful.
Do you think this is something from our center that we should move forward and try and, make it happen?
Absolutely, it's an idea that can move forward.
Thank you. This belief,
Hello Argentina, here's a small gift from me. I'm Nelly from Cape Town.
it was very creative. They said, what would happen if we married the best of the old and the best of the new? No one ever did that before. Still pretty good.
The whole idea behind that video was to show you that you can be who you are. You can be a long-standing organization. You can be a new organization. As long as you remain true to who you are and you create opportunities on social media for conversation. Across the world, that's all Coke did. The brand was carried with that conversation. And so it's essential that as you begin to work into a social media environment, that you realize that you've got to be relevant and you've got to be able to converse with your customers. I'm going to jump through that one. If you want to see it later, you can get it on YouTube. It's a video about the fact that a certain company was struggling to sell toothbrushes. So all they did was they, you know that you get those toothbrushes for your kids. My kids have got them where it plays music for 2 minutes. Yeah? We couldn't have these ones in our house because these ones play Justin Bieber. And sales went through the roof. They created a whole online thing where you could load up your own song and all that kind of thing and put it on your toothbrush. And it went mockador. They were relevant. They took one of the most popular people on social media anywhere in the world and they made him relevant to selling a toothbrush. It's just about creating conversation and about being relevant. What we've done at Nedbank is we started a journey where we had a look at saying, well, how do we deal with our clients' needs on social level? How do we become relevant to them? And becoming relevant to them would be a great platform to saying, well, how do we now then take a marketing and communication message and layer that on top of being able to resolve issues immediately? Once we've got that marketing and communication message happening, the next step to social business was going to be easy. And that's where we find ourselves now. Now, my good friend Amanda sitting at the back would have slated the banks as regards the fact that we only reward when we swipe. And she would have also alluded to a whole new program that's going to be coming where we reward social media behavior. And I'm just saying that she's a close friend, and if you want to draw dots and kind of link up what's happening in our space, you're more than welcome to do that. The fact remains is that social business is what I want. I've got a bottom line. I've got to sell a product. I've got clients that need accounts. I've got to keep new clients coming on board. And we've got to make sure that eventually, however long that might take, it might be as long as F&B takes to get their Windows 8 app running, but eventually I will be able to tweet statements and I'll be able to get a response, an authenticated response. I'll be able to post balance and get a response. And one of the things we've had to do, and it's quintessential to your social media environment, is we've had to take social media platform and dialogue and profile and link that to banking profile. So I know who you are. Even if you tweet me 3 weeks later, I'm not asking you what your telephone number is. I might know who your wife is. I might know that you have a girlfriend on the side because you've posted photographs of her. I might know where you had lunch, but I don't know where your telephone number is. I don't know what your bank details are. I don't know what accounts you've got with us. I'm going to be asking you the same questions over and over and over again on social, and the person's going to get frustrated. You should know me. We've had conversation. You and I have stood around a braai together. We've chatted. We're tight, but you don't know me. And it's important that you link up in your social business, that you link up your banking platform with your social media platform. To know them, you need to investigate, and I'm wrapping on this, I promise. I haven't been on in half an hour yet, have I? A few months ago, Qantas, Australia's national airline, grounded all its flights because of industrial action. There was a scheduled campaign that was set to run. The scheduled campaign was the hashtag Qantas Luxury campaign. All their planes were grounded, some of which had begun taking off again, but not all of their planes were in the air again, and they ran the campaign. Ouch. Because the responses that came back to the campaign were things like, will I get home? It was all about Qantas Luxury, and they were asking, well, if they're flying at any time, if they're going to be flying, are they off the ground? And so what was supposed to be a really good campaign, because they didn't investigate the social landscape before they launched it, it kind of backfired. We had the same thing with home loans. We had this great new thing where online, if you were running behind in your bond repayments, you could jump on very quickly and you could reorganize your bond and restructure it again all online. But what we didn't do was we didn't check if people really wanted to talk about the fact that they were behind on their home loans before we launched the campaign. Nobody mentions that. You don't get up in the morning and tweet out, I'm behind on my bond repayments. We thought it was going to rock. It didn't. We had to go back to the drawing board because we didn't investigate before we ran our campaigns. You've got to be doing keyword searches around the kind of people that you're trying to attract to that campaign. You've really got to be looking and saying, well, hang on, who is it that I need to speak to? And what are they talking about other than banking? We're trying to appeal to the mass market. Why do you think we're in soccer? So we talk soccer because that's what we think will get a hook into some conversations that will eventually lead to some of those people taking out a bank account with us. This is back to our little monitoring tool. You've got to be monitoring your profiles. Don't monitor your likes. Don't monitor your followers. That'll come. Likes and followers don't make a social media strategy successful or not. Conversation does. I go into the social media center sometimes and I pull the stats and I see, hang on a second, our conversations only have 2 or 3 iterations of dialogue. Not good enough. It's got to be 5 or more. I want people dialoguing. I want people talking. A conversation isn't, I'm in the queue. What branch you in? Santon. I'll let them know. I'm in the queue. Again, what are you waiting for? A statement. It's all I need. Have you tried our e-bills? It's free now. It's free now. you'll never have to go into the branch again. Really? How do I sign up? Yeah. That conversation is far better than saying, thank you so much for your feedback. We'll let the branch manager know immediately. One of the things you've got to monitor as well is that you've got to be monitoring that you're taking social media activity, moving into real world, and then real world back to social media. So if there is somebody complaining about the queue and you can't help them online, get the branch manager to tap Johnny 101 on his shoulder. Hi, are you Johnny 101? Yeah. You've been complaining about the queue? Yeah. What can I do to... Now all of a sudden, his whine on social media becomes a real world experience. And he goes, this bank is connected. This organization talks to each other. I'm not just tweeting some command center somewhere in Sandton while I'm banking somewhere in Cape Town. These guys are actually connected. And your whole brand goes up a notch. You've got to know them. You've got to run profile checks on them. You've got to know who they are. You've got to link their Twitter profile to their Facebook profile, to their banking profile, to their Google Plus profile, to their Pinterest likes, to what they're doing on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible source of information. Hook up your banking profile with your LinkedIn profile. All of a sudden, I've got a profile on you second to none. Then when I want to know what you do in your spare time, I hook in the Facebook profile, your Twitter profile, and just for fun, I go and have a look at what you're doing in the shootout in a ghost town called Google Plus. For those of you who know what's happening in Google Plus. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's me, I'm done. Thanks.